Welcome to Define Play, where I interview fascinating people to find out what play means to them. My guest today is Phasha Spencer, who's the executive director of Playworks Illinois, which is part of a national organization of Playworks, which does recess implementation to make play and recess time more connective, more meaningful, more inclusive for kids of all ages and abilities. Phasha is also a voice actress, and so her philosophy of play has a ton of interesting wisdom, both professionally and personally. So I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation with Phasha. Let's go ahead and slide into it. When you had the opportunity to lead an organization in Illinois that is inherently all about play, what about that spoke to you, Phasha?
Yeah, I love that question. Well, first, let me say this. At the start of 2024, I was really at a place in my career where I refused to settle. I definitely wanted to work somewhere where it really aligned with my core values and who I was. So there were four specific things that I wanted wherever I was going to be.
Okay.
And Playworks fit all of those things. I definitely knew that joy was very important to me. And obviously anything that serves kiddos, I say kiddos, but anything that is in the service of students, kiddos, I knew would be right up my alley. I think what it was is when I looked more into the organization, the specific core values around centering equity, continuous learning. I really lead with a lot of curiosity. I consider myself just a learner throughout life. I'm very committed to my own personal growth. I also saw collaborating with communities was a core value. And then really cultivating play. And so when I saw all of those things, I said, okay, why didn't I know about this sooner? More people should know about this organization. And it met all of the other things that were important to me. Driving vision, leading an organization, being able to do external facing work, being able to grow partnerships and do fundraising and those sorts of things. And so it was very few that you see a job description that you feel like checks all of your boxes.
Yeah.
And it sounds cliche, but it really did.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, what an amazing opportunity. And
Absolutely.
that says so much about Playworks and Playworks Illinois in particular. For those who are unfamiliar, can you tell us a little bit about what Playworks does and
Absolutely.
how that shows up, in Illinois in particular?
Playworks is an amazing organization. I love talking about it. So Playworks is the leading national nonprofit in recess implementation. So we leverage the power of play to transform children's well-being. So we know the benefits of play can impact a student. Obviously, play and recess is where the learning happens. A lot of people think that recess is just allotted time outside of class. That is not it. Recess is part of the learning day. We've seen the power of play transform students' lives holistically, so behaviorally, physically, socially, emotionally, academically. And that really sets students up to be successful academically in school, but also in their careers and then beyond. So we actually have 6 services. We're across 12 regions. Not all 6 services are available in all of the regions.
Okay.
However, we do have direct services. We provide trainings, consultative support, really whatever a school or district's need is. One of the things I also love is that we can take what we do for children, so we specialize specifically K to 8, but we can take that and make it adult size. So let's say a company just completed a fiscal year and they need some good team time. They need some fun and joy. We can do an adult recess where it really allows companies an opportunity to experience the benefits of play. You can feel like a kid again, but it also enhances all of those things that our kiddos experience. So conflict resolution, building leadership skills, communication, collaboration, all of those different things still happen for adults. It's still something we're continually working on, and so we can do adult recesses with corporations as well.
Man, sign me up for that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, no, I love to do them.
Yeah. Is there an overarching philosophy of play that drives how you make decisions in what to pursue.
If you were to just say play outright, someone is going to default to, just having fun, having a good time. Specifically to Playworks, it's safe, healthy, and meaningful. It's for all kids. It is for every child. So there is that sense of belonging. All students need to feel welcome. The play is structured in a way where every kid feels that sense of inclusivity. It is definitely all about ensuring that there is proper game facilitation, structure, an overarching vision of what the recess implementation is, even the safety of how the equipment is on the playground. Training techniques around group management, so transitioning from classroom to playground. When you do shift from more of a classroom game time versus an outdoor recess, what should that look like? Also things around building proper boundaries. And allowing kids to disagree in a way that's still respectable. So one of the things that I've adapted even in my personal life is, when you play a game and, whether it's Taboo with your friends or a card game, Uno, it doesn't feel good when you don't win,
Right.
But something in Playworks we say is good job, nice try. So even teaching kiddos, what happens when you lose? It's going to happen. You're not always going to win. You're not always going to be in first. But being able to say good job, nice try, continuing to embody that teamwork. So play isn't just we're having fun and it's a free-for-all. Yes, there's joy. Yes, there's connection. But it's safe, it's healthy, and it's meaningful.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so much of team sports for kids and other things, it has a lot of that same purpose. In the vast majority of kids who play sports as a kid are not going to play those things professionally.
Definitely.
So what are they taking from it? They're learning how to deal with conflict
Correct.
and wins and losses and work as a team.
To work with people,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
To learn how to disagree in a healthy way.
Yeah, love that. So as I looked and was kind of getting to know Playworks a little bit, I saw that sometimes the recess implementation looks like you have someone on site who's guiding and facilitating play. That seems really valuable and important when maybe there's a setting where kids are like, I don't even know how to play, like this thing that should be so inherent, and yet the circumstances of life can make it sometimes that like, where do I start?
Absolutely.
I'm not used to that. So sometimes it's very hands-on.
Correct.
And I also know it seems like there's also times where you are actively encouraging kids to work these things out themselves with a little less adult involvement. Where's the balance there, and how do you decide which is the appropriate approach for any given school?
Yeah, great question. You've been digging into our stuff.
I try to come prepared, and I do my homework a little bit.
Definitely did. So our model is very much, it is like I do, we do, you do. So it's kind of that gradual release.
Okay.
And so a lot of the services, particularly in Illinois, so we have our Team Up programming, which is that direct service that you spoke of, where we have a site coordinator or a program specialist that is literally embedded into the school community throughout the duration of the school year, actually facilitating and leading and guiding that play and that recess. We also have our training services where that might be a 1-day, 2-day, 3-day workshop, depending upon what that recess team needs.
Okay.
All of that to say, very specifically within the Team Up programming, we do have our junior coach leadership program, which really allows peers, so 7th and 8th graders, to become leaders amongst their peers. And it's not always the most gregarious, outgoing student. Sometimes it is the student that is more inward, but we're very intentional with talking about what the program's main priorities are. And so when we ask teachers or any sort of leader in the school building to make those recommendations, they're already keeping that in mind.
Okay.
And so all of that to say, to your point about it can become a little hands-off, there are moments where if we've had enough of facilitation or leadership or training around specific techniques, we do then trust the recess staff and ultimately the students to be able to work some of those things out.
Cool.
So yeah, that's built into it as well.
I love that.
That sustainability.
Yeah, that's great. And how did you say the phrase, I do?
So it's I do, we do, you do.
Okay.
Yes.
That's such a great progression that I think is a nice parallel to the way kids grow up.
Correct.
And are gradually coming into more independence in their life, and how beautiful that play can become the means for that and the vessel for that.
Yes, definitely.
Wow. And you also spoke about the importance of inclusivity and accessibility.
Absolutely.
And you touched on it's not always the most outgoing kid who's going to have a leadership aspect in the way play shows up. What does that look like related to, making space for kids of different abilities, or even, I don't know, different languages, different ages? How does inclusivity come to life?
Sure. I think that's the beauty of Playworks. I mean, that's the reason it exists. It literally is the programming, and what we do is for every kid and all kids to feel welcome. So with that, it's already embedded into like the core principles that are basically embedded into the curriculum. We also have a great recess framework, which is basically a data observation tool that we leverage. And there are certain indicators on that. And so a lot of that stuff is built into it as well. So one of our partner schools here in Illinois, it's actually Southern Elementary School, which is in Beverly. It's on the south side of Chicago. They have a really strong playground area, recess area, and a team that's really committed and bought in to Playworks. This is our second year being a partner with them. And if you were to observe their recess, you are going to notice whether there are students who have very specific learning needs, they are not going to be sitting out by themselves. There are specific things they're doing. So in one corner, it might be a group of students with chalk on the sidewalk drawing. There is a method to what is happening there, while there might be other students who are playing Foursquare. Others are playing kickball. They're doing independent learning, playing on the actual equipment. But all of it is built into a recess vision. Basically, our team does recess team meetings at the start of the year, throughout the year. A lot of that stuff is decided in collaboration with the recess team at the school. And so essentially, regardless of where a student might fall, like in terms of a learning spectrum, behaviorally, socially, there is something that fits what works for them and ultimately keeps them engaged, because you want students to get the most out of it. Because when you leave recess, you go back into the learning day. What we've noticed the benefits are coming out of a Playworks recess. There's a shift when they come back into the room. And ultimately, that's what you want. That's what teachers want.
I love that. I really appreciate how earlier you said one of the ways the organization thinks about play and defines play as meaningful.
Correct.
That's so powerful to me.
Absolutely.
That sounds like one of the ways where meaning shows up is there's a tangible difference of a kid who has just gotten to spend time play. They come in, the way they sit down in their desk is different.
Absolutely.
What else does it look like for play to be meaningful?
There should be a level of structure. There should be engaged adults who feel confident and capable in what they're doing and what they're leading. I think that's where a lot of our training services come in and why they're so beneficial. I love seeing it. We have some of the best trainers in Illinois, and even in our hub. So Playworks is in 4 hubs, and Illinois is part of the Midwest, not Midwest. Because we have a little bit of New England in there, so the Midwest, just to kind of make it fun. However, the training component is where you really equip the recess staff. And that could be a combination of SICAs, noon hours, administrators, teachers, PE teachers, essentially equipping them and giving them that confidence and essentially a lot of those critical skills to actually be able to facilitate recess. You'd be surprised how many, partners that we have or potential partners that we work with that just have no idea how to properly facilitate a game or even an idea of what kind of a game can keep students engaged. Even things like kickball, you got to go over the instructions in a particular way. You have to encourage teamwork in a particular way. So we equip them with a lot of those things. So I think that structure is another thing that it should have in addition to making it meaningful.
I love that. And so on the national level, you're overseeing Playworks Illinois. You're part of the Midwest.
Yes.
What does collaboration with the other regions look like? And I have a follow-up question, but I'll start with that one. What does your collaboration at a national level look like?
So we do have, executive director cohorts. We have meetings where we come together at least once a month, where we are talking about wins, we're talking about challenges or pain points. We are offering up strategies to one another. I know one of the things that I leveraged coming on board, one of the great things about Playworks as an organization, there's so many people that have been there for years. People truly love the organization and love what it stands for. So you have a lot of people that, want to stay, and that's a great thing. And so as a new ED, I was spending a lot of time having conversations with EDs who had been there for a while and just kind of learning what their secret sauce is. And even though every region is different and has their own context, important things about how they engage their board, how they went about storytelling and getting the visibility about Playworks out there. What were some of those specific strategies? One of my favorite things to do is thought partner. I absolutely love it. I am definitely the leader that is going to ask a lot of questions and, like I said before, lead with curiosity. So a lot of collaboration happens there, and then of course collaboration within the hubs. So we have a trainer that will actually that's actually based in Indiana, South Bend, that will be assisting us next week for a large adult recess that we're facilitating. And so we share in the delivery and the implementation of the services. We talk through vision and strategies and operational priorities and how we are each going about those things. Even the events that we do. So I had just a call yesterday with the ED in Wisconsin about a friend-raiser event that we are considering in the fall and sort of what that needs to look like. And so it is very much like an all hands on deck for whatever you need type of an organization.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a lot of amazing things about Playworks. I want to talk more about what play looks like for you as well.
Okay, great.
So you kind of offered Playworks' philosophy of play was safe, meaningful. There was a middle one more. Healthy. Love that. What about for you, Phasha? What is your personal definition of play?
Yeah.
And how does that look in your life?
I love that question. So for me, joy is a personal core value. It is definitely an innate gift that I have that I'm grateful for. I think I would define play as, intentional time where connection, creativity, and restoration happens. And obviously within all of that, there is joy and something that you feel good doing. So if that is going for a bike ride, if it's journaling, if it's drawing, if it is going to your Zumba hip hop class on Wednesday nights, which I did last night because it's one of my favorite things to do, but it also includes movement.
Yes.
And whatever that means for you. But it's something where it provides you with that level of rest and restoration. And so it should never take from you. It's something that gives you something and pours into you.
I love that.
Yeah. So play is all of those things.
That's
but I have to have connection, I have to have joy, and I have to have that renewal and restoration.
Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorite definitions of play I've heard.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's great. And I also know that a very cool thing that you do in your spare time is that you are a voice actress, and an artist in general in that sense. What does play have to say about being an actor?
I still get used to even calling myself an actor. I'm like, I'm a voice actor? This is so interesting. So just kind of give you the long version of this. So my formal education is in communications and journalism. So I actually started my career in radio. And many years ago, I worked for Radio 1, a station called Z107.9, which is in Cleveland, Ohio, which is where I am from.
Yeah.
And I was not an on-air talent.
Okay.
I actually worked with clients on more of like the ad sales side. Longer story short, I had one of the on-air talent ask me one day, like, we need a female voice on this furniture spot. Like, can you come do it? And I was like, me? You want me to do it? Now, I will say, like, throughout my childhood in college, I did hear a lot, like, Pasha, you have such a great voice.
Oh, yeah.
I would hear that.
I can hear it. I can hear it.
Thank you. And so I was a little surprised they asked me. But again, it was like, well, you have a great voice. I'll guide you through it. You'll be fine. And so I was nervous. I did it and I loved it. But it still was kind of like, well, I didn't think about making it something that I would do for my career. It wasn't until I moved to Chicago. I moved here end of 2008. I attended graduate school at Roosevelt University. And just being a transplant, you get to know people. And a friend of mine who was an actress, she and I were talking on the beach one day. And by this time, I had heard over and over from people throughout my career, like, have you ever thought about doing audiobooks? You need to circle back to voice acting.
Yeah.
You need to take that seriously. And I remember how it made me feel. And by that time, I had grown up enough and matured enough to know that, like, there is no one lane or linear path to what makes you happy and to what your purpose is. Like, there's multiple ways to do it. And I really enjoyed it. And so I said, all right, I'm going to take this seriously. And so I pursued voiceover training at Acting Studio Chicago. I was trained by some of the best. I took Intro to Voiceover 101, intermediate level, and then Voiceover with the Pros. I had individual coaching, and next thing you know, I have a demo. So that turned into me being a voice actor. There's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of rejection, a lot of auditioning, but I have so much fun doing it. It is definitely a huge part of how I describe play. It is not something that takes from me. It pours into me. Yes. It's fun to be these different characters. It's fun to learn all of these techniques about how to make your voice sound a specific way. It is much harder than it seems.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it is something that I've continued to work at. I continue to pursue coaching. I think I'm on my 4th demo by now.
Okay.
And I can hear how much I've improved. And so, yeah, it's a passion, and it's also like a part of what I do.
That's amazing. Yeah, I have no doubt that it is significantly more involved and complex than most people would
definitely
guess.
is.
Even just the act of putting myself out there on YouTube the last few months,
I'm sure.
hearing my own voice, and
Yeah.
hearing how sometimes I'll take a minute to ask a 10-second question, and
Absolutely.
I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I could probably benefit from some of those classes as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's so cool how it connects so much with your understanding of play, and
Absolutely.
and that the joy is like your
The
overall
joy is there.
metric.
And the classes were so fun. Being in there with other folks, hearing their voices, and there were a couple of spots we did together. Like, you know, it's not always just you in the studio. Sometimes it would be me and like 4 other people, and we'd each have a role that we'd play.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool.
Oh, that's
yeah,
so
I want to
fun.
do more of it in this next year.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it. So when you look at the future of your organization, the future for you personally, what are your hopes for play in the next few years?
You know, I think for Playworks, I'll start there. I feel so good about where we are right now. I'm a year and a half into being an ED. And we are such a solid, grounded team going into this fiscal year. What I envision is that we will grow to offering more services. We also have our digital service, Spark Play, which is subscription-based that I failed to mention.
Yeah.
But I definitely see a lot more growth there and the potential for another direct service to come to Illinois. I definitely see expansion. One thing that's great about Playworks is that it is Illinois, it is not Chicago.
Yes.
So we can service Chicagoland throughout Illinois, which has been really great. So expansion into new territories, other districts that really need us. You know, multi-year contracts throughout districts where we have access to so many other students because within the district there are multiple schools that we're serving.
Yeah.
I also see more of our story being told, you know, not just through our dynamic board, you know, that I've been, you know, rebuilding and working alongside, but just through the stories that are happening from these amazing kiddos and the teachers and all of the things that they're seeing that is happening, just the impact of that being told. I also will see personally I'm in a really happy place. And even though I know, the world isn't perfect right now and probably never will be, I just see more connection in my life. I have really strong networks, a great community around me. There is a lot of just love and friendship and fellowship in my life. And so I definitely see a lot of that. I would love to book a syndicated spot.
Yeah.
That is nationally syndicated and continuing to repeat.
Let's make it happen.
Absolutely. If we could hear my voice on one of those Super Bowl commercials, I have made it.
All right, listen, world. Here's your talent
there
right
we
here.
go. You heard it here. So yeah, more of that. I just think that, being able to tell the Playworks story, inviting more joy in my life through connection, through relationships, being able to explore more parts of the world. I've been traveling more in my life than I ever have, right now. So a lot of those things are really what I see. And play is in all of that.
That's so wonderful. Last thing I want to ask is, so for someone who is listening to this, watching this, and is not, not the target demographic, they don't work for a school, but, but there's so much about the way that you talk about play that is speaking to them. What advice would you offer to someone who, on a personal level, wants to build more play into their life and make that meaningful?
You know what? So it's going to sound cliche, and this sign says more love, but honestly, it does start with love of self. I know that there are a lot of people that feel like they're in a rat race or they're on a hamster wheel and they can never come up for air. You have to prioritize it. It is very important. It is vital. And so I think making time for yourself, intentionally setting that time for play, it could be something as small but as important as blocking off time in your calendar where it is just you time, and really not viewing rest and joy as like something you have to earn. It's not a privilege. It is a right. It is something that we should always have and should always have access to. So making the intentional time for it, and knowing that when you do, you're not taking from yourself. You're adding and you're pouring to yourself. And for every other thing else that you do, it's only going to make it that much better. I think that without play, without joy, without connection, particularly what it means to me, I don't think we thrive without it. I think it's a very vital component. Yeah,
I love that so much. The play is inherently one of the best parts of humanity.
Absolutely.
And it's not just this silly, frivolous thing.
Absolutely
it's actually
not.
The fact that you emphasized connection earlier in your understanding. This is how we connect to others, but also to ourselves.
To ourselves, absolutely. And you're giving yourself something every single time. We are not, here just to work or to, burn ourselves out. Incorporating play and having moments of joy and connection should also be a part of why we're here.
That's so amazing. And so cool that the connection piece shows up in your work as well.
Absolutely. And my life.
In your life. And that's one of the best things that these kids who get to have these enhanced play experiences are taking away, is that they connect with their peers in entirely new ways, and that has a ripple effect, I imagine, in the way they connect with their families. And,
it does.
As they grow.
It does. Absolutely. So I want to tell a quick story.
Please.
When I was 90 days in the role, we went to one of our partner schools. This is where we have our team up programming, and we had our junior coaches. And we wanted to get some testimonials from them. Just, what do you love about Playworks being at your school? What's your favorite thing about Playworks? What's your favorite thing about Coach Sharmy or Coach Jasmine? And I asked a student by the name of Treasure, who I had the privilege to interview, and she blew me away. So they're coming in after a recess, and obviously you can imagine how kids look after a recess, right? They're lively, they're upbeat, they're excited. And I said, well, thank you so much for letting me ask you a few questions. I'm happy to be able to interview you. And when I asked her, what is your favorite thing about Playworks? What do you love most about Playworks being at your school? Do you know this 10-year-old looked at me and said, well, I just love the fact that we really get to learn about boundaries and how to play with each other in a really safe way.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, I didn't learn boundaries till I was 30.
Yeah, right. I'm still learning that.
I mean, that really blew me away.
Yeah.
I was 90 days in the role, and talk about confirmation.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't know what that meant at that age. And it wasn't just a word that she heard. She knew what that meant.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And, you know, just the mutual respect, the reciprocity between students as it pertains to learning what boundaries are and how you incorporate them and what happens on a recess playground. I was just blown away.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and I love that you said it's not just a word, because
No.
I'm guessing in some instances, these may be the first time some of these kids are hearing some of these words.
Sure.
So you're providing them language
Absolutely.
that they can use to navigate the world, but you're not just giving them language as theory. You're helping bring it to life.
Modeling it.
Yes, and you're really showing it to them. So now
Absolutely.
they have not only language, but they have actual practice.
Actual practice.
And that they can bring that into so many areas of their life.
Absolutely. And because she was a junior coach, a leader amongst her peers, she gets to model that.
Cool. And I imagine her peers will take inspiration from her in ways that they aren't always going to take from adults.
Absolutely.
So what a cool empowerment that you've been able to provide for her, and that's really wonderful.
And through recess.
Yes, I mean, recess is the best.
Recess is a part of the learning day.
Absolutely,
Recess is the best.
it's so great. I mean, I wish more of the learning day was recess, because there's so much beautiful, important work happening there. So,
Absolutely.
Cool. Any other closing thoughts you want to offer on play, or for yourself or the organization?
Well, you know, I just would say that for anyone that doesn't know who we are worth knowing about.
Yes,
our story
agreed.
needs to be told, you know, 10,000 times over. We are doing amazing work transforming the lives of kids. And for anyone that wants to be involved, they can become a High Five Club member.
Cool.
By making donations monthly. It doesn't matter if it's $25, $2,500. You know, any gift is well considered, and we appreciate. But mostly just any time that someone gets to experience it, it's that they should know that it's helping these children thrive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So amazing. Well, thank you so much, Phasha, for talking
Thank
about
you.
this.
This was so fun.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to see kind of your energy for this, and I'm really grateful knowing that you're doing this work in schools that need this so badly, and so cool. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. I hope you found some inspiration to cultivate a little bit more joy and play in your life. If you want to learn more about Playworks Illinois, you can find them online at playworks.org/Illinois. You can also learn more about our show at defineplay.com. If you enjoyed this conversation, please send it to a friend. And if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel or following us on your favorite podcast platform, we really appreciate it if you do that. My name's Michael. Thanks again for joining us. Hope to catch you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.